Mexico, folks. We're not in southern Arizona. We are back home in snowy but beautiful Bozeman, Montana. And Michael says we're live. We better be, because I'm looking right now. What do you got, Michael? We live? Huh?
It says we're live.
I'm wondering here. I'm not seeing anything. You sure?
It says, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it says
I'm sure we're live. I see it right here. Don't you people wish that you lived out in the middle of the hinterlands like I do, right? So, we are here, Elk Talk Live. We've been gone. We tried to do it last week. We are in southern Arizona, like on the map about that far from the Mexican border. And those of you who've heard my Mexican jail story, you will know why I don't get that close to the Mexican border. But we ended up with such a bad connection down there. It kept dropping and dropping and dropping. So he said, you know what? Heck with it. We're not going to frustrate all of you. So we're going to do it this week, what we planned to do last week. And that is, we are trying to go on to what I call part 4 of Hunt Elk Every Year. The Wyoming deadline is behind us. That was January 31st. The Arizona deadline is coming up February 13th. And then after that, we got March 1st is the Utah deadline, March 15th is the Montana deadline, and March 22nd is the New Mexico deadline. So you need to be paying attention on all of those. And as many people as I just saw show up in the live feed, this is crazy. A lot of you must know that if you want to get notified on this, you text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453. And whenever we're ready to go live, we'll notify you, and you can tune in and you can watch us. And we always tell you who makes this possible, and it's the good folks at Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx, Go Hunt, Tight Spot, Ripcord, Black Gold, new sponsor this week. Right? You guys all ask what elk calls I use. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Go to buglingbull.com and you will see these calls. Diaphragm calls, open reed calls. They got 11 new calls coming up for 2018. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls is now one of the companies that is helping make this possible. And we always tell you about the promo codes, right? Promo code Randy. If you use promo code Randy at onxmaps.com, you get 20% off apps, any of their app products. And if you use promo code Randy at Go Hunt to sign up for their insider, you're going to get $50 of free store credit in a really, really cool gear shop. So with all of that, one of the questions someone asked last week pertained to Wyoming. And I want to get to it because they asked in the Wyoming application, it has an asterisk by it, which if you go to the bottom of the page, it says, oh, asterisk means that we have difficult access, for lack of a better term. And the person said, well, I see a lot of this as private land or public land. Why do they say it's difficult access? Because sometimes we have public land that is surrounded by private land. So even though there's a big block of it, it's hard to get to it. So, but a lot of people wonder how we draw so many Wyoming elk tags, antelope tags, other stuff, because we apply for those units with the asterisk. And we're really good with the Onyx map system. I mean, there's the old country movie or country music song about Charlie Daniels of the Torque Wrench. Well, I think I'm close to Charlie Daniels of the GPS or the smartphone Onyx app. So Michael is over there. He is managing the YouTube channel, Michael. Are we not? We're not there today?
Not in here today.
All right. And I'm managing Facebook. We got other Facebook pages where people are managing. And someone already is asking, Cody's asking, Randy, you did YouTube videos about how to draw tags in Wyoming and how to do it in Arizona. Are you going to do them for Utah and New Mexico? Coming right up. What have you been working on the last 2 days, Michael? The video about how to draw tags in Utah. So if Michael doesn't have that up by Friday, he's looking for work some other place. Oh, just kidding. So Sam asks, Randy, I hunt Colorado. I'm debating on hunting the high country or the lower lands. Which would be your favorite pick? Depends on if I was going to hunt with a rifle, going to hunt with a bow, or going to hunt with a muzzleloader. You cranking our speed up there, Michael?
I was cranking your audio down.
Oh, all right. Because it's looking like we're on like the lowest bit rate. Are we?
It's on medium.
Medium? All right, we're good. So in Colorado, it would depend on what weapon I was going to hunt with and what season I was going to hunt. If you kind of think about how the high country, early in the season, which is usually archery seasons, it's still lush up there. It's still green. As season progresses, it goes through September, October, it dries up, it gets brown, snow starts coming. Well, the elk in September are up higher and they're going to start moving down. So to answer that question, it would really come down to, was I an archery hunter? Was I a rifle hunter? Was I a muzzleloader hunter? And archery and muzzleloader, I'm going to hunt higher. Rifle, I'm probably going to hunt lower. I don't know if that is a good enough answer, Sam, but that's how I look at it. Utah, this video that we're doing on Utah, we want to make sure that everybody who thinks about building as many points as possible in Western states thinks about Utah. But some of the Western states require you to buy a non-refundable license. And those Western states would be Utah, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona. So to even apply and build points, you got to buy a non-resident license in those states. You have to buy one in New Mexico, but it's refundable if you don't draw. Colorado, you just pay your permit. Idaho, you got to also apply or buy a license to apply. So you got 5 states there that you got to pay money to build points, or to even, in the case of Idaho, they don't have a point system to participate in their draw. If I had a limited budget and I was going to rank those states that you have to buy a license in, Arizona would be my first state, because your draw odds of getting some tag within 4 to 6 years are way better than the other states. And you're going to have opportunity to apply for deer, for antelope, bighorn sheep. You can go there like I do, hunt over-the-counter deer with your bow, a lot of bird hunting. And so some people would argue, oh, then it's Nevada, then it's Oregon or whatever. But because of the really low draw odds in Utah, they give away 10% of their non-resident tags to non-residents. So we have this little pool of 10% of the tags, which is normal across most states. But we're getting 10% of a really small number, because even the residents, they restrict opportunity heavily in Utah to maintain a really high age class. So if budget's not your concern, go ahead and apply in Utah. But if you have to pick and choose, well, I don't have the budget to do all of this, Utah is probably going to be lower on that list. Arizona is going to be higher on that list. I just throw that out there because I want you to go hunting. I want you to get the most benefit out of the money you're going to invest in what you're going to get to show for it. So, all that said, do not forget about Arizona's deadline on February 13th. I got so many dates in my head, I'm trying to remember which one it is. Oh gosh, looking for boots for a Colorado elk hunt. What should I check out? I use the non-insulated boots from Kenetrek. They make a boot called the Mountain Extreme. I use that from September until it gets 0 degrees in November. That's my elk hunting boot. Do I ever hunt Wyoming and Montana grizzly country alone? If so, what precautions do I take? I hunt Wyoming in the wilderness areas, and luckily I haven't had an issue yet. I'm never alone anymore because I always have camera guys with me, but I used to hunt it alone quite a bit. And the precautions I take are know where the bears are seasonally. They're at some times of the year, they're up really high where the cutwing moths are. Sometimes they're in the streams where the cutthroat are spawning. Sometimes they're in the berry patches. Try to know where they are the time of year that you're hunting, and hopefully you can avoid them. To me, the best defense against a grizzly bear attack is avoidance. Then know during the time of day where they're at. In the warm part of the day, they're going to be on a north-facing slope in thick brush, bedded down. I don't go in those spots. If I see berry patches with a lot of bear scat, I don't go in those places. I always tell someone where I'm going to be, and I always carry bear spray. Those are the precautions that I always took when I was alone. And now I take those same precautions because a camera guy is not going to be able to help me much. He might be able to film me getting attacked. Michael, would you film it, or would you come with your bear spray and help me?
I would definitely film my bear spray.
I've told those guys, I've told him and Marcus, if ever I'm getting attacked by a grizzly bear, one of you better film it. It's just what we do. So, will I ever come to Washington to do a hunt? I notice you've never done any videos in Washington. Nate asked that. The odds are I probably won't. And the reason being, and I get asked this a lot about California, I get asked about it with Oregon. We hunt in places where we can show people this is a doable experience for you. And the Rocky Mountains fit that better than Washington and Oregon and California for a couple reasons. One, a lot of the audience is in the Midwest and in the East, and if they're coming, they're going to go to the Rockies rather than through the Rockies into the West Coast. The other part is, for the price and the opportunity and the quality of the hunt, those other 3 states end up being pretty low on the list compared to most of the Rocky Mountain states. Yeah, there is some great hunting in those states, but they're really not destination places for most hunters. And we're trying to show, if we can do it, you can do it. Here are cool hunts. Here's maybe things you dreamed of that you didn't know you could do. We're going to show you how to do it. So nothing personal against those states. It's just we have to do what we think the majority of the audience is going to want to see. So, am I coming back to Gunnison, Colorado soon? Jake, every year, Colorado is on the whiteboard. We have whiteboards here with the calendar and the schedule. Colorado is there every year, but sometimes what happens is we end up with other tags, limited entry tags, where it's like, oh, we got to push Colorado aside, because in the strategy we're talking about of hunt elk every year, Colorado is one of those really important states. And once we get through the drawing states where all these limited entry states have their results, if you have not drawn a tag, we're going to suggest you go to Colorado or you go to Idaho. And so a lot of times Colorado is that fallback option for us. But if we have a deer tag or an elk tag, or this year we actually had a friend who had a sheep tag during the Colorado third season. And I prefer to hunt the third over-the-counter rifle season in Colorado. And I try to combine it with a deer tag if I have enough points. So will I be there? I don't know yet. If I don't draw many tags, yeah, I'm going to be in the Gunnison area. Really, really good hunting there. Let's see. You got anything over there? Oh, Randy, Charlie's asking, am I coming to Oregon to hunt rosies this year? I don't know if it's going to be this year, but the guys at Born and Raised Outdoors are offering to help me. So I should probably take them up on that. I noticed that they're pretty handy at it. John asks, what's the best grain bullet for whitetail in a 308? I shoot a 308. My rifle loves 165 grain Nosler partitions. Anything in that range of a partition or an AccuBond, high quality bullets. I like 165s. Some of my 308s actually prefer 180 grain a little bit more than the 165. So on a couple of my 308s, I've stepped up to 180 grain. So either would be fine. Randy, how do you like the Leupold VX5 HD 3 to 15 by 56? I don't have a 3 to 15 by 56, but I have a 3 to 15 and I love it. In fact, I'm getting another one, and yeah, the VX5 HD is a super, super good scope. Let's see. What do you got over there, Michael? Anything?
Yeah. How do you actually see the roads within the within units? I've tried Google Maps
Okay.
in country.
How do you see roads within a unit? Onyx Maps has them all. And a lot of people try to use aerial maps or Bing Maps and Google Earth. They'll have most of them. But the place I've seen that I use it, one of my computer monitors just about always has my Onyx map on it. The whole app system of multiple states open at any time. And my other monitor just about always has my Go Hunt on. When I'm doing my research, I'm trying to answer that same question. Which of these are roads? Which are open? Where? There's so many layers that you can use with OnX. It will show you so many things. That's what I use to determine that. When you talk about solving the access route to public land, are you talking about going through private property to get there? No, you cannot cross private property to get to public land unless you have permission. Under the Fifth Amendment, that private property owner, his property rights say he gets to decide, he or she gets to decide who crosses their property. Now, sometimes there will be roads that go through there that are public roads, and then you can do it, but only if it's a public road. So sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. There's a lot of land that is landlocked and just is what it is. Let's see. Can you give instructions about drawing mule deer tags in Colorado? We're going to get to that in March. We're doing a full YouTube video on that in March. So, boy, there's a lot of them. What's the best unit in Arizona for elk? Any unit. I've hunted what are called limited opportunity units. They're the ones that supposedly don't have quality elk. We've done 3 episodes in those limited opportunity units, and we've shot 2 bulls, and if I wasn't greedy and hadn't seen a bigger one, we would have shot 3 bulls. And I say that meaning they're really, I've yet to encounter a bad unit in Arizona. I would look at how many points do I have and what's the best unit that gives me the best chance to draw. I'd have my application in by February 13th and I'd be going elk hunting in Arizona. What do you got, Michael?
When do you rule out one of your hot spots on your hunts?
Oh, that's a good one. At what point in a hunt do I rule out one of my quote unquote locations, one of the spots? If you go back to our YouTube channel, you'll see I've did this whole series, I think it's 4 episodes on YouTube about desk scouting, or e-scouting as we call it. And I always say I want to have 10 spots for a 5-day hunt. When do I rule one out? Usually I go through all 10 of the spots in the first 2.5 days. I have a morning spot, evening spot, morning spot, evening spot. So by the middle of the 3rd day, I do, enough spots through the course of this hunt that I'm able to glass multiple spots from one glassing location. If I'm at the middle of the hunt and I'm not seeing any sign, not hearing anything, it's not what I think it turns out to be, I'm usually folding up the tent and going to one of my other spots. Sometimes I'll go there the first day and say, you know what, this is not what I thought it was, and I'll pull the plug right there. It just depends. It depends on what you're seeing. Is it what you thought it would be? Is there water? Is there food? Is there sanctuary? Are all the needs they have nearby? And then it also depends on which season is it. How much hunting pressure is there? There's a lot of things that go into that, but I'm not afraid to pull the plug if it's not what I think it is. And that's why I have such a list or a map with so many spots on it, because I don't want to just tie myself to this spot. I know, when I first started elk hunting, I would tie myself to, I'm just going to go hunt this area. And I'd hunt it for 4 weekends in a row, and I may as well have been hunting in the parking lot down at the shopping mall. There were no elk there. And most people will hear me say in my seminars, you can't kill an elk that isn't there. If you can't find an elk, you're not going to kill an elk. So for me, I focus on finding them, the where are they going to be? And we've done the whole series out there on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist called Elk Talk. Went into all this. We're going to get into more of it this summer. Once we get through drawing season here in the winter and spring, this summer, most of our content then is going to shift over to finding elk. To kill one, you have to find one. So that's what we're going to spend most of the summer episodes on. How long do I glass in one spot before moving on? All day. If it's cold, I'll build a fire. I know some people are like, how can you sit in one spot? Michael, how many days did we sit on the same rock in Arizona this year?
Yeah.
5 days in a row, the same exact rock. And I know some of you are like, Newberg, you're nuts. Every day we did see a bull. Someday we saw a couple. And the reason we were sitting there is in the scouting day, we saw Big Hank. Ooh, man. But Big Hank never came by in the 5 days we sat on that rock. But we sat there, a bunch of us, glassing every day, daylight to dark. And it takes a mindset to kind of get yourself to where you can do that. I know some people would think I'm, well, my wife would validate that I'm not all there. But it's just what you got to do sometimes. Again, I want to make sure that everybody understands who is making this possible. Go Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx Maps, Tight Spot, Ripcord, Black Gold, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Who am I missing? Go Hunt. I think I got them all. And if you would text Randy to 77453, you'll be notified every time we go live. And now that we are not on the road anymore, we should have a connection here every Wednesday night. We should be able to make it run the way we need it to. So, and again, remember these deadlines, okay? Wyoming's elk has already passed us. Wyoming deer and antelope's coming in May. But the next deadline you need to be aware of is Arizona, right? Arizona is February 13th. If you miss it, bummer. And then after that, we got Utah on March 1st, we got Montana March 15th, and we have New Mexico. I think I said March 22nd to start with. Now I think about it, I think it's March 21st is the New Mexico deadline this year. How does drought affect draw season for me? Ricardo's asking that. It does to some degree. Right now, Arizona and New Mexico are in a serious drought. They've had hardly any precipitation since September. And in a year like that, I get to thinking, all right, the only place there's going to be good moisture is up at higher elevations. So in New Mexico, I'm going to be looking at units where I can get up to high elevations because the odds are there's better moisture there. We have to apply for these tags pretty early, so we don't really know. What if we say, I'm really not going to apply, and then they get all kinds of rain in April and May and June? I'm going to be like, oh, dang, not a good idea, Randy. But it does, I'm not going to say it determines my strategy, but it does cause me to think about things a little closer. Oh, someone just said that the draw deadline for New Mexico is the 19th. I don't think so. I think it's the 21st. But to be safe, do your application before the 19th. Let's see. Do I ever hunt the little belts in Montana? No, I don't. Not for any specific reason. I just, you kind of got to figure out a spot, and that's never been one of those spots that I really had much chance to figure out. Waiting periods. This is a good one. Randy, how much longer do you have on your waiting period for Nevada bull? So me and my friends, we call it the penalty box. Like in Nevada, it used to be if you drew a bull elk tag, you were in the penalty box for 10 years. So I just got out of the penalty box 2 years ago. In Utah, if you draw deer or antelope, you're in the penalty box for 2 years. For elk, it's 5 years. I think Nevada just dropped their waiting period down to 5 or 7 years, if I remember right. So there's definitely some states where that's an issue. I wish I was in the penalty box in every state. That means I would have burned a lot of points. I would have had a lot of tags. But I'd love to get back to Nevada. The odds are, though, with me only having 2 points, not even that close. I mean, really, really, really tough. Let's see. Here's a good one. Chris, he's from New Mexico. Hey, Randy, I'm a guide here in New Mexico, and we hunt a lot of high altitude. I get a lot of clients from sea level. What's the best way for them to acclimate? While they're at home, they have these elevation masks, oxygen deprivation masks, they call them. I've never used one. I've talked to people who have used them. They try to replicate the effect of being at 9,000, 10,000 feet. The people I've talked to who use them say they actually work pretty good. The other thing is, as you know, you've probably had some clients who come from sea level to some of your places in New Mexico are 10,000 feet. Altitude sickness. Absolutely, it is no fun at all. Let's just put it that way. I always tell people, if you're coming out west from a low elevation, make sure you get there at least 2 days early. Don't exert yourself. Don't do anything crazy. Know that it's going to take your body some time to acclimate to this elevation. And if you run out, say you at sea level, you land at the airport in Grand Junction or Taos or wherever, and you go on a very strenuous 10,000 foot hike, I can assure you the next day you are barely going to be able to get out of bed. Get yourself acclimated to it. Oh, let's see. Someone wants to know in Arizona, 23 north, 27, 10, 9. They're talking about units here. And then they said, best is to get the Go Hunt service. Vance, get Go Hunt access. Yeah, Go Hunt has great explanation of all that. And again, if you use promo code Randy, you're going to get $50 or free store credit. But any of those units in Arizona that were listed here, 23 north, 27, 10, 9, you give me a tag in any of them, I'm going to be dancing in the streets. Sam Solholt. I've been thinking of planning a hunt for Coatimundi in Arizona. Are they worth eating? You guys are going to crack up when you see this. Last week when we were in Arizona, Coatimundi, they're like a raccoon crossed with a monkey. They got like this really big tail, and they're native down there. And Brian Call from the Gritty Bowman, he got charged by one day, and then the next day he arrowed one and we ate it. Hank Shaw cooked it. It was pretty darn good. I know if I would have cooked it, it would not have been edible, but Quaddies we call them. Let's see. What do you got over there, Michael? Anything? I got so many of them here. It's hard to pick them all.
Here we go.
Okay.
Do you use a side focus or straight focus on your Leupold?
Do I use a side focus or straight focus on my Leupold scopes? For me, I don't. I have side focus ones, but I set them to infinity. I prefer to just have the fixed focus that I can get to. And no, you know what? That's going to be what works for me in a hunting situation. Now, if I was long range shooting, I would definitely be messing with that side focus. It really comes down to what you're comfortable with. That's the beauty of all these Leupold products. If you go up to the VX6 HD down to, the VX3i, you can get any feature you want in there. And for me, I'm just looking for the most simple. If you can think about this, we got a camera over here, we got a camera behind me. Sometimes I set up a point of view camera in front of me. We got all that going on, and somehow I got to wait for Michael and Marcus to give me the go-ahead. I just want fewer things I got to fiddle with, so that's why I usually ask Leupold to send me the scopes without the side focus. They're great stuff, though, all of it. Have I noticed a different migration pattern in elk around southwest Montana over the last few years? I've not, but I'll be honest, I've really not been out looking that much. I drove through the Madison Valley last Friday. The number of elk in the Madison Valley of southwest Montana right now is crazy. I don't know where they all came from. They seem to be able to escape me really good when I'm up there archery hunting. But I'm not. Obviously, when you see that many that have migrated in the winter, you're like, how can this be? How can I not be tripping over elk in archery season? But I've really not noticed much change there. How much snow is too much for an elk? Depends on if you're talking cows or bulls, but it takes a lot of snow to move a bull elk. And I always focus on the things we're talking about because it's the harder animal to get is a public land bull elk. Not to discount public land cow elk or anything like that, but cow elk are much easier to find, much easier to take than a bull elk. So most of my answers are predicated and directed towards bull elk. And a bull elk requires a lot of snow. If it's fluffy snow and he can still paw through it, he's going to stay up there until it's up to almost to his belly. What will get him moving is a lot of cold weather with a little bit of snow versus warm weather and a lot of snow. It's just, if you watch, if you ever get a chance, go up in the mountains in December while the snow is piling up and it's still not that crusty frozen stuff. You will be amazed at how deep of the snow elk are hanging out in, at least bull elk. Crazy. All right, let's see. Which states allow camping on public hunting land for the true on-your-own experience? Every state that has BLM or Forest Service land, those are federal designations. Those are owned by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, owns Forest Service land. The Department of Interior is the holder of BLM lands. Just about all of those places are open to what we call dispersed camping. Now, state lands across the West, state trust lands, you have to look at the rules of every state. New Mexico, no, can't camp on state land. Colorado, no, can't camp or hunt on state land unless you get permission from the lessee. Wyoming, can't camp on state land. So in Montana to do it, you need a recreation permit. So understand that on the federal side, and if you're looking at a map, the green stuff is the Forest Service, the yellow stuff is the BLM. Those are just about always open. I can't remember ever encountering some that weren't open to dispersed camping. Now on your surface map, you see these little blue, light blue chunks. Those are state trust lands. You really got to be careful with state trust lands. So most instances, those federal lands in any state are going to be available for you to go and do a hunt and camp on those federal lands. A lot of people offering to take me hunting today. Thanks, I appreciate that. Stephen, I don't know if I'm going to be in Colorado, but I appreciate the invite. Let's see. Is a 6.5 Creedmoor enough gun for elk? You know, asking people what is the lowest level elk cartridges, it's kind of like, you know, the arguments about Pepsi Coke or whatever. Yeah, it'll kill an elk. It definitely will. And some people swear by it. But you better use really good bullets. You better be good in your shot selections and shot distances. And by that, when I say shot selections, I'm talking about shot angles, atmospheric conditions, all that stuff. So yeah, it'll take an elk, but I can think of a whole lot of cartridges that I'd prefer to a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I have one. Nothing against them, it's a great round, but it's not my choice for elk. Have I ever hunted the Uintas in Utah? No, I've not. The only elk tag I've ever had in Utah was the South Cache unit. I had an archery tag there, and it was a lot of fun. There were a lot of elk in that unit. Randy, the Howa HS Precision Rifle, what's my take? I got to shoot them down at SHOT Show last month. My take is I'm going to have me some of those. I'm going to have one in a 308. I'm going to have one in a 300 Win, a 7mm, a 7mm 08. I mean, you can't have too many rifles, right? Let's see. I know you like to hunt more frequently versus buying and carrying a lot of points. What's the most points that I currently carry in any state? Oh, Nathan, let me think about that. For elk, I don't have very many points for elk in any state. And this year I have 19 pronghorn points in Utah, not by design. It's just never fit my calendar. Whoever is in charge of rifle pronghorn hunts in Utah, don't put them in the middle of the elk rut in September. Move it to August. Move it to October. That's why I have 19 pronghorn points in Utah. But I've told the crew this year, you know what? I'm burning them. I'm getting rid of this bag of pronghorn points in Utah and I'm going. So I think that's the state I have the most points in. I have 20 sheep points for desert sheep in Nevada and Arizona, I think. I think I'm at 20 in those. So that's, yeah. I don't like carrying a lot of points around if I can help it. Let's see. Someone says, how do we get on the list to help pack out your elk? Oh, Terry, that's pretty easy. Send me a message. Oh, gosh, that would be fun to have someone. Wait, oh, so this year, you guys saw us last year use llamas, right? My buddy Bo Beatty down in Idaho owns this company. He rents llamas, Wilderness Ridge Trail llamas. You better get some, because I was just there on Friday and I was drafting my team of llamas. I got Marshall and I got Marcus, and I'm waiting for my other two to clear the waiver wire. And we are going to have 4 llamas with us all season this year, whether we need them or not. If we don't need them, we'll probably pasture them here or we'll leave them with Bo, but I might reach the point where I don't need Terry to be my pack mule like he's offering here. I'm excited about the whole llama thing. We got some really, really cool hunts coming up this year, and the llamas, if we draw in Wyoming, the one place, one of our friends has a lot of points, and if he draws in Wyoming, or if me and Mike, one of my friends, we don't have many points though, hardly any, so we're probably not going to draw, but we put in some places in Wyoming where if we draw, the llamas are going to be ticking. Same in Arizona. Last year you saw us hunt a spot in Arizona in a wilderness area, and we used my buddy Wade. We used his llamas in Arizona. If we draw our tags in Arizona this year, we're going to be doing llamas there also, because we did find that in Arizona there are some places where llamas are really handy to get your camp way back in there, away from the crowd, and if you shoot one like we did, you can get them out. I think I need a job from the llama industry, promoting llamas or something. I'm all about them right now. Oh, Jim, no. I'm getting married on September 15th. Is this a big mistake? Jim, come on. You've listened to my podcast, right? You do not get married in September. Have this woman call me. Michael, you're not married, right?
Right.
You would never get married in September, would you?
No way.
Oh, no. Jim, stop. It's February. You can make up for it. No, don't get married in September. I don't care if you're the guy or the gal. Do not get married in September. Whew. Man, I wouldn't even admit that. Boy, Jim, I'm worried about you now. Oh, and Scott says, the wedding day isn't up to you, it's up to her. No, Scott, it's up to both of you. It takes 2 people to get married. Here's what I did. My anniversary is this weekend, 29th anniversary. I got married as close to Valentine's Day as I could. No hunting season, no real fishing season. And if I forget about Valentine's Day, well, I got problems. So if you want marital advice, go to my podcast. This is about elk hunting. So, but every once in a while, elk hunting and marital advice cross over, right? So, all right. Oh, I can't believe. Yeah, everyone's chiming in. Way to go, folks. Jim, read all these comments. They're all saying, Jim, big mistake. No. Some guy. All right, we better get back. What do you got? We got to get back to more questions, Michael. I'll get on a really bad tangent here.
How do you go about hunting in the heat in September?
How do I hunt in the heat in September? Boy, that's tough. If you go out to our YouTube channel, there is a hunt from 2016. Corey Jacobson and I spent 9 days in the Gila, and it was so hot. It was every terrible condition you can think of. Full moon, hot, way above average. How do I go about it? I just got to work that much harder. I got to cover that much more ground. I got to hunt that many more days. And I do really focus, at that time of the year, I'm focusing a lot more on water, because bulls have to water multiple times a day in the rut if it's really hot. And there's a couple tricks. One, they're usually going to water in the morning, then they're going to take and bed their cows in mid-morning. Sometimes they don't get enough water in that morning water session. that they'll go bed the cows, especially the herd bull. And once he beds them, he will silently come back down to that water in the middle of the day. I'm talking like from 11 to 2. I've seen it happen many times. I've never killed one doing that, but I've come close. And so a lot of times I will change my tactic to be a little more focused around water than it normally is. If you get in the northern Rockies here, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, we have a lot of water, so it's not quite as effective when it's super hot. Oh gosh. What's my opinion about the top elk unit in Colorado? 201, 61, 40. You know, I really don't know. Of all those, I've only hunted 61. I've talked to people who've hunted those units in the northwest corner, and they say it's unbelievable. And I'm sure it is, but as a non-resident, you better have maximum points. If you have 20 points, you're not hunting those units. It took me 19 points to get a 3rd season tag, which is probably the least desirable tag in Unit 61. I burned 19 points on that in 2016. And if you go out to our YouTube channel, it's a video called Don't Shoot Elk Here, and you'll see why. It was before I figured out llamas. Let's see. Boy, there's a lot of them here. Michael, you got any that you're, let's see, a reminder, September 24th is the end of the bow hunting season in New Mexico. Yes, that's right. New Mexico, and just not all units, but most of their units, you have a season that runs for archery season September 1st to the 14th, and then the late season goes from the 15th to the 24th. Be thinking about that with your calendar or your wedding day. Jim's never going to live this down. What Colorado elk unit is the best to go to over-the-counter archery tag? I get asked this a lot about over-the-counter units, and what I would suggest, and this is what I always tell people in emails, Colorado Parks and Wildlife has a super, super helpful website. I would say if you know how to dig through it and find it, there's more information on the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website than any of the Western websites. Wyoming is catching up to them. But if you go out there, I think it's under hunting or big game information or something like that. You can click on it and then it'll have elk information. Click on elk information. It'll give you the harvest data, the herd survey, all kinds of stuff about every unit, every herd in Colorado. And go and look at the ones that have the trends of the growing herd. Look at the ones that have stable or growing harvest rates. And those are the best ones to go and hunt. That's how I look at it. And that's the best approach. There's a lot of really good information out there. Go Hunt now has research information on a lot of these over-the-counter units. They even have now draw odds and other stuff on cow elk, which is kind of interesting. I'm surprised how many people are really interested in that. I just take it for granted that if you want to go shoot a cow elk, you're going to go shoot one and not put a lot into it. But now I'm starting to get tuned in that, wow, you know what? A lot of people take that cow elk hunting seriously, and that's good. I mean, I'm happy to see that because, one, you're participating in conservation, 2, you're hunting, and 3, you're going to get the best food on the mountain by doing that. So if you have the chance, go hunt cow elk. Let's see. What else you got, Michael?
What arrows and broadheads do you use?
What arrows and broadheads do I use? My broadheads, I switch back and forth, and I can't say I'm hung up on either of them. I used Magnus Stingers for a long time. The 2-blade with the little bleeder blades that make it actually a 4-blade. And then I've been trying the 3-blade Whack-'em broadhead. No, might be 4-blade. I need to look. But both of them are fixed blade. Both of them are 125 grain. And I use Easton arrows. I get not that worked up about what equipment you use. For me, I get more worked up about what knowledge, what expectation, what mindset do you have? Are you prepared for how hard public land elk hunting is? And I tell people, make sure you've got budget for your tags and your hunt. and then start filling in the equipment side. So it's not that I want to discount equipment. I just want to make sure people go hunting and they don't forego a hunt for the sake of having a new bow or a new rifle or a new truck or whatever it might be. Nothing wrong with new bows and new rifles. Get them if your budget allows, but don't stay home because you spent all your money on gear. Let's see. Had my first elk process this year. The ground elk meat is extremely gamey. What are some tips to help with the gamey flavor? I've never had a gamey elk. I don't know what could have caused it, if it's just that elk. A lot of times, if meat doesn't get cooled properly, that can add a lot of gamey taste to it. That's really the only thing I've seen, is not taking care of it in the field properly. That's hard to, with an elk. I don't know how you can not take care of it properly, because you're usually going to have to quarter it up. So I've been lucky. So I really don't have an answer to how do you get rid of the gamey taste. I'm really careful and meticulous about how we process it. Out on our YouTube channel, we have a video about the gutless method and how we take care of it start to finish. Let's see, Mr. Mike M. You have at times given the impression you're not totally on board with the Montana elk shoulder seasons. Why is that? If it's too much to get into, no worries. So in Montana, we have late seasons that are called shoulder seasons. Like, okay, if my head is the main general season, shoulder seasons are before the main season or after the main season. The reason I'm not fond of them is, you know what, those elk have already been pressured so much. We have 6 weeks of archery, we have 5 weeks of rifle. Do we really need to be hunting them before or after? That's just Randy Newberg's personal opinion. I have many years where I have an elk tag still valid. I could go do these shoulder seasons, but I just, again, personally, if they've made it through 6 weeks of archery and 5 weeks of rifle, I say you win. Good for you, elk. Maybe we'll see you next year. That's it, Mike. It's not any other reason besides that. Let's see. How late in October do bulls usually bugle in Colorado in your experience? I can't really say in Colorado because I've never hunted elk in October in Colorado. I always hunt November hunts, and they're always the early part of November. In Montana, we've shot bugling bulls on Halloween. We're in Wyoming 2015. We were there November 10th, and there were elk bugling like crazy. I have no idea. There must have been a couple cows that missed the cycle and never got bred in September or October. I would say once you're getting past about October 10th or 12th, the bugling drops way down. But you're going to always have exceptions to that. How we doing, Michael? We're trying to make up for the fact that we missed a couple weeks, and then we had such a bad connection last week that we feel like we owe it to all of you to chime in more this week, or to give more time this week. Maybe that's a better way to put it. What do you got over there, Michael?
Are horse hunters in Montana as big of a deal on non-roaded areas as I'm being told in the...
Our horse hunters in Montana, same in Wyoming, in a lot of the states, we have a lot of guys who hunt from horses, and I'll be honest with you, I wish I could. But I grew up in a logging family where we had skidders. Now, I didn't grow up in a ranching family where we had horses. So horses and I are like oil and water. I'll go to a trailhead at, 3 hours, 2 hours before daylight, and I'm like grunting and walking. Gotta get up there, and I hear clump, 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 clump. Here comes guys, the horses, about half hour before I get to my glassing spot, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Dang it, I wish I knew how to deal with horses." Are they a big factor in some of these states? Yeah, they're a competitive factor in these non-roaded areas. It is what it is. Good for them. I just got to get up earlier, or I got to find some spot in the hill that's so steep they can't get their horses up there. And then once it breaks free, then I've kind of got it to myself. But if you're coming to some of these states and you're going to hunt public land, a lot of these backcountry areas, just know you're going to have some horse guys there, and they're very effective. I mean, they can carry a lot, they can cover a lot more ground, they can get there sooner, and just part of the deal. And, I'm jealous because I don't have horses, and if I owned one, it'd die of neglect because I know so little about how to take care of them. Do you ever bump into landowners claiming they own the BLM land that you're hunting? No, not really. I've heard about it. One time I've had a landowner come and tell me, hey, you're on BLM. I showed him my map. He left. He came back. He's like, you know what? I feel terrible. I've been managing this ranch for years, and I always thought that was the BLM. I mean, it wasn't a big chunk, so it's not like he made a big mistake. It was just a weird fence line. And he was really good about it. He's like, knock yourself out. Man, sorry to bother you. But you do hear instances of other times when it's, not quite that way, but I've never had it happen much. But there is, a lot of benefit of having your onX map system is you can say, see this dot right here? This is where we're standing. See that yellow land? That's BLM land. We're standing on BLM land. That usually sorts out those things in a quick hurry. What are your thoughts on the trophy layer on onX? That's one that they just came out with, and I haven't had a chance to use it. Hey, Sid, my niece Sydney is on here today. Sydney Newberg right here. She just joined. Sydney, you shot a bull elk on your first elk hunt, your first morning in Colorado on public land. How cool is that? She's shot more bull elk than her dad, my brother. Well, I'm going to get a lot of grief over that. That's all right. Hey, Sid, you want to come to New Mexico with me this year? I wonder. I better not say that. I'll get too many people saying, yeah, I'll come with you. Randy, what's your dream hunt? A lot of people say, what's your dream hunt? They have ideas in mind. Since I was a kid, my dream is to go to Canada and hunt mountain caribou. I read a story, I believe, when I was a kid, I believe it was by Jack O'Connor. And mountain caribou is something that just, I don't know, it fascinates me. And someday I want to go do it. The downside is our platform is all self-guided hunting. In Canada, the only places you can do this, you're required to hire a guide. So someday I'm going to go do it. And if people say, oh, I don't want to watch that, I get it. Change the channel, don't watch it. But if I'm going to ever fulfill that dream hunt, I don't have any choice. That is a bigger dream of mine than any of the sheep hunts. Don't get me wrong. You give me a Montana sheep tag, I'm going to lose a lot of sleep dreaming about it. But that's probably my dream hunt right now. And once I do that, I don't know. And hopefully if we do it, people understand that, hey, everyone's got a dream. And anyhow, that answers the question. We'll worry about filming it if ever I get around to doing it. Plans to hunt moose anytime soon by Andrew. Today I went out to the taxidermist and picked up Matthew, my son. He shot this really nice Shiras moose here in Montana. That's out on the YouTube channel. If you give me that tag, yeah, I plan to hunt moose every year. I've applied for moose here in Montana 27 times. I've never drawn. I've applied in, Utah, I don't know, I think 9 times or 8 times. I've applied in Idaho 12 or 13 times. I'm like a big goose egg when it comes to drawing moose tags. So, oh well. I noticed that you don't hunt South Dakota much. Why is that? Because South Dakota's draw is way later in the year. We've already got our calendar pretty much locked in. So here's how our calendar works. We have to be planning this 6 months in advance. And then once we get tags, we start getting our public land film permits, because for us to go and film any commercial filming operation, I'm talking about TV show, a YouTube channel, a blog, advertiser, if you film on Forest Service or BLM land, you need a public land film permit. And they're expensive and they're hard to get. Not that you won't get it, it's just the amount of time and work it takes. So we've got all this stuff in process, and then along comes South Dakota with their draw. It's like, well, we're already locked in. So nothing against South Dakota. I got friends who go there and they shoot some tremendous whitetails and some really nice mule deer. It's just for us trying to plan a calendar in a season, it just doesn't work. So, do you train to stay in shape for the hunt? Not really. I'm a CPA. You know what I'm doing this time of year? I'm disinheriting the federal treasury. That's what I'm doing this time of year. I drive a desk for a living. Once tax season's over, I'll use spring bear to start getting in shape. And then once I get out of spring bear season, then I hike all summer. I'm lucky that right behind my house, there's a trail a mile from my house that goes from there all the way to Yellowstone Park. If I wanted to, it's 80 miles, but I'm lucky to have a spot like that. We're lucky in the West, a lot of these places we can go do a lot of hiking. And my only training is hiking. If I want more cardio, I just force myself to hike faster up a steeper slope. If I want to build core strength, I put more weight in my pack and I do a lot more side hilling or uphilling or downhilling. I don't really have a go to the gym kind of jump on the stair stepper sort of thing. And then when I'm done, I go to Dairy Queen. Let's see. How did your Nevada deer and antelope hunts go this year? Going to see them in an episode? Yeah, the day-by-day part of it's already out on YouTube, and we're wrapping up the editing for the Amazon part. Those of you, you're looking for us, right? You're like, well, you're done with TV, Randy. Where can we find you? Everything that we filmed in the fall of 17, we're editing, and we're getting it ready, and it's going to be on our Amazon channel. So if you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, it's going to be free to you. So a lot of people say, well, I don't get Amazon Prime. I don't want to pay for it. Well, it's going to sit on Amazon Prime for a couple weeks. And then we're also going to take a copy of it and put it out on YouTube a few weeks later. So everybody's going to get to see it, one of those places. How do I get a reputable hunt guide for my first elk hunt, over-the-counter, Colorado third rifle season? I'm from the Southeast and I've never hunted elk. That's a crapshoot. There are a lot of really good guides, and there are some that are, their reputation's not that stellar. Usually going to one of the outfitter associations, the state outfitter associations, that's a good place to start. You could see if there are any complaints. If you have someone who's hunted before, there's some folks that maybe could give you some input. Adam Gall at, I think it's Timber to Table Guide Service. I think he's out of Paonia or Hotchkiss. I know Adam, I've sent some people to him, and everybody had a great time with Adam. And I'm not sure, I think he does some of the over-the-counter units. Picking a week or archery, do you use the moon phase or the autumn equinox? You know what, we've said this many times that we just have to go. We're out filming all the time, so I really can't pay any attention to moon phase. I don't. For me, it's like, you know what, full moon, new moon, quarter moon, last moon, doesn't matter. I'm here, I got to hunt. And honestly, I really don't see that much difference. I mean, there's times where if it's really hot, the elk will use the full moon period to do more of their activity in the evening or at night. And yeah, that changes daylight activity, but that just is what it is, and I got to hunt through it. So, I mean, obviously, if I could pick a week and knew what the weather was going to be, I'd say I want a week where the weather is cool, slightly damp, and cloudy and overcast. That way it doesn't matter if it's full moon or new moon, it's still going to be dark at night. But I don't have the power to predict or to make the weather be what I want it to be. Oh, am I missing any, Michael? We have got, how many questions do we have here? My goodness.
Quite a few.
We aren't even touching it. Let's see. I don't know anything about those bills. I'm sorry. Do you have a calling method that you stick by? Yeah. My best calling method is to hunt with Corey Jacobson. When you hunt with Corey, he calls in so many hunters because there's a reason he's the 9-time world champion. But what I've learned in hunting with Corey is this. I bugle way more than anything else now. I used to be one of those guys who'd cow call because it's less aggressive. I was worried I was going to scare him off. It's easier to kind of a little bit know what you're saying with a cow call. But now, right here, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, I'm using this bugle tube, and I'm letting it rip all the time. And if it's kind of the theory of, hey, if you don't want to play, fine, I'll go find a bull that does. Kind of like when you're fishing, you know, you see fish on your electronics, and you're sitting there trying to get one of them to bite. For me, if they don't want to bite, I call them carp, and I go to the next group. And I've kind of adopted that strategy with calling. I can't say it works great, but it works for me. I don't know if it works for everybody else. Oh gosh. Okay, Christian, this is one because remember, Michael, we did this video on thermals down in Arizona. We saw some guys come in from above. So we're out on this rock. We said we spent 5 days. Some bulls come around the corner from us, and they're out there they were over 400 yards, weren't they? But they were coming our way. Here come some guys in the morning from the top, and they could not see those elk. The elk couldn't see them. I bet you they were 600 or 700 yards away. But in the morning, the thermals are coming down. Those elk smelled those guys, and whoom, they were gone. So my point of this, we did a video about thermals. You cannot disregard the morning thermal, the afternoon thermal. You have to pay attention to it. And so Christian's asking, I understand the way they move, so you try to catch elk coming up in the morning so you have high ground. How do you position yourself in the morning? So the wind is coming down, right? In the morning, the heavier air. I'm usually going up or I'm going side hill. I will side hill. If I know the elk are up here, I will side hill. I'll have a perpendicular wind. I'm comfortable with that. But I will never have a wind behind me at any of the vectors that would be any type of danger. I want to have the wind somewhere in the 180 degree sphere that's either perpendicular or it's going downhill from me in the morning, and the elk are uphill. It's hard. A lot of times it requires more work. Like when we were in Arizona, Michael, what did we have to drive? An extra 40 minutes to be able to come in with the wind at our favor. Oh, yeah. And we had to walk up these ridges, up into these canyons. It was probably an extra mile of walking uphill in the morning in the dark, and an extra 40 minutes of driving versus just taking the Forest Service road like the other guys were doing and walking out. But they had the wind right at their back. And you don't kill many elk on public land with the wind at your back. So, that one, let's see. Calling after the rut. Any point to it, Andrew asked. For me, I don't do it. Maybe there is. I don't do it though. All right. Here's Ryan, a guy after my own heart. More grouse hunting videos, please. Coming right up. This fall, we're going to do some serious grouse hunting. Well, some people call it elk hunting. I call it grouse hunting. My buddy Bart, he comes with me and he gets kind of grumpy when the elk are bugling and I'm chasing grouse, but you can chase elk anytime. It's not every minute of every day you find a grouse or a group of grouse. So, well, Michael, how long? Holy cow, we've been at it for 1 hour and 5 minutes. That is crazy. What do you think, folks? I'm gonna have Michael pick one more really good one while I give the reminder that if you want to be notified of Elk Talk Live, text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453, and you'll get notified by text whenever we're ready to go live. Next week, we're going to talk more about Utah, but we're also going to throw in Montana. We're going to focus on that deadline, and we're going to focus on the New Mexico deadline. Again, we want to thank all the companies that make this possible. Bowtech right here, this was their brainchild. They're the one who is funding all of the infrastructure to do this. All the other companies are giving us use of their platforms, their Facebook pages, YouTube channels, their websites. Loophole, you guys know Loophole's been with us since the start. Onyx Maps, they give all of you that promo code Randy to use if you buy one of their app products. Use the promo code Randy and you're going to get 20% off. Then we've got our archery accessory groups, Tight Spot, Ripcord, and Black Gold. New this week, like I said, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Go to buglingbull.com. And then we're doing all these videos that you see on our YouTube channel about how to draw tags. Because if you don't have a tag, you're not going elk hunting. It's that simple. And a lot of people say, Randy, why do you spend so much time talking about tags and applications? Well, that's the first step of being able to go elk hunting. And there's no service like Go Hunt. It has these application strategy articles that Brady produces. They tell you so much. They're pages and pages and pages and pages that we can't even fit all that information into our YouTube videos. And again, like I said, it's got the best draw odds. It's got all this searchable stuff. And if you go there and you go to gohunt.com and you sign up for their insider, and you use promo code Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, you are going to get $50 of free credit in their gear shop. And it's a serious gear shop. This isn't like, big box store stuff gear. This is serious gear. So with that, Michael, what's the best one you got, man? Hey, Scott, Skoll. No, we're not going there. The Vikings got. You know the beauty of the Vikings getting their clock cleaned a couple weeks ago? I was doing a public land appearance in Vegas when the football game was going on, so I didn't have to watch that ugly massacre. The pain of being a Vikings fan. All right, Michael, this is it. Come on, everyone's waiting on you.
Any tips and tricks for calling elk when solo archery hunting?
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Any tips or tricks for calling while archery hunting solo? It's hard, but for me, when I do it solo, when I don't have another caller, even if it's me and a camera guy and I don't have a caller, I try to see where they're going and I want to get in front of them, paying full attention to the wind. The other thing I will do is I'll move in on them, and if this is me, I will call from here, and if the elk's there, I'll pay attention for which way the wind is going, and once I call, if I think I've got a response and they're coming, I want to go and get downwind. So say the wind is going this way. When I call from here, I know that bull is going to try get over here to wind me. So when I call, if I think he is coming, I move over here. So when he comes this way, he's looking back where I was, not where I am, and hopefully that'll increase your odds. But doing it solo and calling them in is tough. A lot of times, if you don't move after you call, what do? They come walking right in at about 35 yards, and they look right where you're at. Where is he? I know there's somebody over there. Well, that doesn't give you much of a shot, so that's what I do. Anyhow, folks, thanks for watching. We went a long time today. Appreciate all of you hanging in there. Tune in next week. We're going to be doing the same thing. Hopefully we'll have even more information, more great questions. Really appreciate it. Hope you'll support all those companies that make this possible. Go hunting this year. Hopefully we're done. How far do I move? Not very far. Not very far. Not very far. Not very far.